We've all heard it a million times, so it must be true. It is insulin and glucose spikes which are making us gain weight. This is what we need to avoid. If we can just avoid glucose and insulin spikes as much as possible, we will get free of insulin resistance, and finally our body will let us lose that weight that we've been unable to lose for so long. But you may be surprised to learn that there is zero evidence to back any of this up. Insulin and glucose experts have a few flimsy bits of evidence that they keep wheeling out. But when you look closely, they are full of holes based on conclusion jumping, guesswork, the most basic error of confusing correlation for cause, and contradicted on countless fronts by the rest of the scientific and observational evidence. In contrast, over the last 20 years, the scientific evidence has been building up piece by piece a new picture of the real root cause of obesity and poor health. It becomes more clear, stronger and more solid by the day with every new piece of evidence. So what is this new solid picture which is being revealed by the accumulating evidence? It is the gut. It is events in the gut, interactions between gut bacteria, bile and gut hormones, which are the root cause mechanism controlling obesity and a multitude of poor health symptoms. This is what matters. This is where your focus needs to be. Forget about glucose and insulin spikes. That is old, debunked news, and focus on the gut. If you want to accurately target the real root cause of your obesity and your poor health, instead of stabbing around blindly in the dark. In this video, I will explain that obesity and insulin resistance are two separate health conditions which co-occur alongside each other sometimes. They both have the same root cause, but insulin resistance doesn't cause obesity, and obesity doesn't cause insulin resistance. They are co-occurring symptoms. You can think of it like the symptoms of having a cold. Two symptoms of having the cold are a cough and a blocked nose. These are two symptoms which occur alongside each other normally. But just because they normally occur together doesn't mean that they're causing each other. The blocked nose doesn't cause the cough, and the cough doesn't cause the blocked nose. They are just symptoms which usually occur together, but they're not causing each other. What is the actual root cause of both these symptoms? It is the cold virus. In the same way, we need to stop blaming insulin resistance for obesity and blaming obesity for insulin resistance. They are both symptoms, and we need to find out what is the root cause of both of these symptoms. And this is what the new science is now clearly revealing. The root cause of both obesity and insulin resistance is the gut. It all starts in the gut, and specifically it is high levels of problem bacteria in the gut. It is an overgrowth of problem bacteria in the gut which is the root cause of both obesity and insulin resistance, and a multitude of other poor health symptoms. Many gurus are still getting confused because they see insulin resistance occurring alongside a multitude of other poor health symptoms. They are thinking that the insulin resistance is causing those health symptoms, but actually they're just co-occurring symptoms, the same as the cough and the cold. The next question then is, how does an overgrowth of bad bacteria in the gut cause both obesity, insulin resistance, and the multitude of other poor health symptoms? Well, there are two important pathways. There is the pathway that leads to obesity, and there is the pathway which leads to insulin resistance and many of the inflammatory poor health symptoms that we are familiar with. The pathway which leads to insulin resistance and other associated poor health symptoms is the result of inflammation caused by the problem bacteria in the gut. High levels of problem bacteria inflame the gut, leading to gut leakiness, whereby bacterial toxins are able to seep out of the gut into the bloodstream, where they cause inflammation and a whole multitude of poor health symptoms, such as insulin resistance and fatty liver. So that is the bacteria-induced pathway which leads to inflammatory health symptoms. But what is the bacteria-induced pathway which leads to obesity? Now, to understand how the gut bacteria cause obesity, it is necessary to shift our focus away from insulin and realize that the critical hormone when it comes to obesity is not insulin, it's actually the gut hormone GLP-1. This is the hormone which is running the show when it comes to body fat regulation. It's not about getting insulin levels low at all. It's actually about increasing the GLP-1 hormone. That is the key to reversing obesity. This is a hormone which is produced naturally by the gut when the gut is healthy. And it is the hormone which the blockbuster weight loss medications mimic, i.e. the GLP-1 medications Ozempic and Mounjaro. The sheer power and influence that this hormone has to regulate body fat levels is evidenced by the astonishing weight losses we have seen everywhere in people on these medications. When these people increase their GLP-1 levels, weight loss becomes almost effortless. So how does the GLP-1 hormone make weight loss so effortless? The GLP-1 hormone keeps metabolic rate and energy expenditure elevated, it protects muscle, and most crucially, it keeps food noise and food cravings down. And anyone who struggles with their weight know that this is their biggest enemy to losing weight. Naturally slim people produce plenty of GLP-1 hormone in their gut. And because they have high levels of GLP-1 naturally, their food noise and food cravings are low, their metabolic rate and energy levels are high, and it is very easy for them to keep their body fat levels in a healthy range. However, many of us at some point develop a failure in our gut to produce GLP-1 properly. This is when food noise and food cravings ramp up in intensity, metabolic rate and spontaneous activity fall, muscle burning increases, and our body fat automatically increases despite our very best intentions and efforts. For some people, this failure to produce sufficient GLP-1 hormone is only slight. They may gain an extra 10 pounds. But for some people, this failure is profound. They suffer from a severe GLP-1 deficiency, which results in an extreme difficulty in losing weight. And they are far more prone to gaining a lot of weight than someone with only a slight deficiency. So the crucial question then is, what is causing this GLP-1 deficiency? We go back to the problem bacteria in the gut again. High levels of bad bacteria in the gut block the gut's proper secretion of GLP-1. It is because the bad bacteria damage bile in the gut, and it is this bacterially damaged toxic bile which blocks the proper secretion of GLP-1 by the gut. It is this bacterially damaged toxic bile which is responsible for the GLP-1 deficiency, which is driving your weight gain and many associated poor health symptoms. So now that we know exactly what is causing our GLP-1 deficiency, now we have a clear target. We know exactly what we need to be targeting to reverse this GLP-1 deficiency, which is driving our weight gain. The key, therefore, must be to reduce levels of the bad bacteria in the gut, or to reduce levels of bile in the gut. These are the two main strategies we can use to remove the block on our gut's natural GLP-1 secretion and get our gut producing GLP-1 properly again, so that we can be free of the food noise and food cravings, the low metabolic rate, the low energy, and the low energy expenditure, which make it so difficult to lose weight. Reducing bad bacteria or bile in the gut must be our main goal if we want to increase our GLP-1 levels and get our body helping us to lose weight instead of fighting us every step of the way. This channel is dedicated to finding ways to reduce the levels of the problem bacteria and toxic bile which are blocking our GLP-1 secretion, and to increasing the levels of the good bacteria which increase our GLP-1 secretion, and by healing our gut, improve a whole multitude of health symptoms throughout the body. There are many strategies we can use to help us achieve this, which I will be presenting on this channel. However, I believe that the most effective strategy is the starvation approach. This is a strategy which involves starving the problem bacteria of their essential fuel, the foods which the problem bacteria require to grow and survive. If we restrict those foods in our diet, the problem bacteria cannot survive, they die and their numbers fall in the gut. In my next video, I present the science which shows that the problem gut bacteria require dietary carbohydrate and certain types of proteins to be able to survive, which leads on to my next videos, which show that dietary strategies which restrict those carbohydrates or certain proteins lead to the starvation of the problem bacteria, and that this is the actual mechanism which is responsible for the health effects. All types of low carbohydrate, intermittent fast, and low protein strategies enable weight loss and improve health because they starve out the problem bacteria in the gut. You can watch the video linked above to see some more of the science which supports all this, and for a real deep dive into the science, you can watch the playlist linked above. Thanks for listening, and hopefully see you in the next one to learn more.